The Galactic Senate chamber was a marvel, a crescent of levitating seats circling a transparent void where stars shimmered beyond the polished glass. Delegates of 100 species floated, flared, or pulsed in their seats, each form more alien than the last. Near the center, on a modest platform reserved for developing species, stood a single human. Ambassador Layla Mbeki. She wore no armor, no defensive shielding. Just a black suit cut with Terran elegance, simple gold threads tracing the outline of Earth's continents on her sleeves. Her hands were folded behind her back. Her posture said poised. Her eyes said calculating. Counselor Drexel Thulin rose from his tier, a towering figure with pale scales like cracked stone and 4 lidless eyes that never blinked. His voice rumbled through the chamber like tectonic plates grinding. "Ambassador," he began, his smile thin, "we welcome Earth into this chamber of unity. A fragile world, rescued from its own extinction by charity, now joins us in matters of galactic consequence." Fascinating. Polite laughter slithered around the hall. Layla nodded once, her expression unreadable. "Earth extends its gratitude," she replied, voice calm, even warm. "We've found that fragility often teaches resilience. As some of your older species might remember, survival is rarely graceful." A flicker of movement from the Threxian envoy, they knew that was a reference to their own brutal planetary rebirth. Subtle. Noted. Drexel smiled wider, teeth like knife hilts. "Still, one wonders if your kind is temperamentally equipped for interstellar diplomacy. After all, your history is rich with corrective violence." Layla smiled. "Not the kind that showed teeth, the quieter, heavier kind." "You're not wrong," she said. "We were violent. But we learned. That's why we're here. Not despite it, because of it." The chamber paused. It wasn't defiance. It wasn't even pride. It was certainty. Drexel's tone shifted, silk over steel. "Indeed. Yet some among us wonder, how long can a predator pretend to be a gardener?" Layla turned her head slightly, just enough to let the silence settle. Then, evenly. "Predators don't pretend. They wait." The room froze. Drexel's nostrils flared, not anger, not yet. But something close. He gestured toward a holographic dossier that flared open midair, displaying Earth's environmental collapse, old wars, economic devastation. These records paint a species driven by self-interest. Ruled by short-term gain. Dangerous, even to itself. Layla stepped forward. "That's correct. We've burned forests for gold. Fought wars over borders. Poisoned oceans for convenience." Murmurs swept the chamber. Drexel's head tilted, intrigued. "And yet," Layla continued, "we're here. Alive. Healing. And offering aid to systems your own fleets abandoned after resource depletion." Her voice did not rise. It didn't need to. "You see regression. I see a warning label we wrote in our own blood, and chose to obey." The silence deepened. Even the ever-chittering Zalari ambassador was still. A slow ripple of acknowledgement passed among minor representatives. The Avaxi tapped a silver claw against the table, their version of applause. The Threxian leaned forward, interested now, not amused. Drexel shifted tactics. Then perhaps Earth would accept a probationary status, restricted access to advanced technologies, limited Senate voting rights, and full oversight from the Strategic Security Division. For everyone's safety, of course. Layla didn't flinch. "And in return?" Drexel's eyes narrowed. "Return? We offered atmospheric stabilizers to 9 collapsing colonies last cycle. Our biome regrowth nanites reversed soil degradation on Toriel 3 in 6 days. We introduced behavioral empathy coding to AI systems that previously labeled kindness as an inefficiency. What does the Senate offer in return for that?" The chamber stirred again. Quiet whispers. Calculations. Memories. She stepped closer to the central podium. "Earth is not asking for status. We're earning it. Every day. With action, not arrogance. Drexel rose, eyes gleaming. And what if the Senate says no? Layla tilted her head. Then we'll keep helping. Keep building. Keep listening. And one day, when a crisis comes, as it always does, Earth will be the first to arrive. Not because we were told to, but because we chose to. She held his gaze for a beat longer than was diplomatic. Then turned, hands still calmly folded behind her back. And when that day comes, she added without looking, remember who smiled first. She stepped back to her platform. Silence followed her like a cloak. The vote on Drexel's restriction measure failed. Narrowly. But it failed. As the session adjourned, a Threxian diplomat stopped beside Layla. You speak softly, he said. Layla smiled again. But you listen closely, she replied. Layla moved like she didn't need to prove anything, because she didn't. Every corridor she walked in the Senate's polished halls now carried a whisper of gravity. The same aliens who smirked at her species last week now studied her with quiet, cautious attention. She knew the shift was temporary. Political memory was short. Drexel would return with subtler games. Good. Subtle was her home turf. Her private terminal pinged, a message from Earth's Science Corps. The project on Orinth 4 was complete. Native plant life restored. Atmosphere stabilized. Population return scheduled. The planet was habitable again. And not one Senate credit had been spent. She forwarded the report to the general channel with a short note, Earth is happy to help. Within hours, her inbox flooded. The Zalari wanted assistance rebalancing their desert moons. The Karathi requested advice on climate neutralization. Even the deeply private Luvenant Hive asked for insight on mental health programming. None of them had spoken to Earth a month ago. In the center of her office, Layla brewed tea. Loose leaf, real steam, no synthesizers. Let them call it primitive. Nothing disarmed tension like warmth and ritual. Her door chimed. She didn't look up. Enter. High Counselor Drexel strode in with a delegate's neutral expression and a predator's silence. He didn't sit. You're very good, he said. Layla poured a second cup, gestured toward the chair across from her. You're not here to compliment me. No, Drexel said, slowly. I'm here to understand what you want. Layla sipped her tea, eyes steady. I want the same thing you claim to want. Stability. Unity. Progress. Don't insult me with generalities. Then don't ask questions you already answered. She placed her cup down. You think we want power. You're gaining it, he said. One restoration mission at a time. One goodwill effort after another. You smile while rearranging alliances. That's not diplomacy. That's a soft invasion. Layla leaned forward, voice quiet. We don't need to invade. You left entire systems behind. Forgotten, crumbling, unprofitable. We show up and fix them. They remember who stood by. And when you ask them for something in return. She raised an eyebrow. Have I? Drexel was silent. The question lingered. You're afraid, Layla said finally. Not of us being violent. Of us being better. He stood abruptly. You think politics is charity. One day, someone less forgiving will remind you otherwise. She didn't rise. I look forward to meeting them. Drexel left without a word. Later that cycle, word spread of a tragedy on Varnak 6. A relief ship, Terran Harmony, had exploded during a soil decontamination run. 17 dead. All human engineers. The Senate released a statement of condolences. Drexel's office launched a perfunctory investigation citing technical failure. Layla didn't call for justice. She called a press conference. And she didn't mention Earth once. She projected photos of the alien farmers her team had worked beside. Described the rebuilt aquifers. The laughter of children when fresh water flowed. The trust exchanged between species who had no reason to trust. She told stories. She didn't demand. By the end of the transmission, #never again trended across 3 systems. Not a human phrase. A Karathi one. The next day, independent investigators from 3 member species opened a case. The explosion hadn't been an accident. Evidence had been scrubbed, then clumsily faked. Layla said nothing publicly. But she started sending cookies. Literally. Handmade chocolate chip cookies delivered to every envoy involved in the investigation, with a thank you note in their native script. A warm Terran tradition. Disarming. Personal. When the press asked if she meant anything by it, Layla simply said, "Kindness is never wasted." Behind the scenes, Senate security scrambled to explain the anomalies in Drexel's division. Internal communications leaked. Orders traced. Surveillance bots found tampered data logs. Drexel's office denied involvement. Blamed rogue agents. Issued a statement of regret. Layla sent his staff a gift basket. Chamomile tea. Lavender soap. Stress balls. When reporters caught her leaving the delivery, she smiled. Interstellar relations are stressful. I thought they could use some comfort. The next Senate session was packed. Layla stood again at the center, alone. This time, no one laughed. "We lost 17 Terrans," she said, her tone calm but sharpened by truth. "But Varnak 6 still has breathable air. The crops still grow. We grieve, yes. But we do not stop." A hush swept the chamber. Earth doesn't retaliate. We respond. Not because we are afraid to fight, but because we know what happens when we stop trying to build something better. She looked directly at Drexel. "You can wound us. But every scar becomes a flag. And every flag you burn becomes 2 more raised." She didn't wait for applause. She walked off the platform, spine straight, steps measured. Behind her, for the first time, the Senate stood. Not all of them. But enough. The emergency session was called at 0400 Galactic Standard. A time chosen for discomfort. A time chosen for control. High Counselor Drexel Thulin stood tall in the center of the Senate chamber, flanked by holographic feeds from a dozen systems. His voice was solemn, every syllable deliberate. "We regret to inform this council that a Terran strike vessel, unregistered, unmarked, fired on a neutral colony in the Elixir sector. Casualties, 43. All civilians." Shock rippled across the chamber. Layla stood still. Watching. The evidence rolled out, sensor data, time-stamped footage, blast pattern analysis. The ship bore human architecture. The weapons matched known Earth patterns. The signatures aligned. Too perfectly. Drexel's voice grew heavier. "We can no longer pretend that this species, though outwardly charitable, lacks the capacity for manipulation and destruction. I motion for the immediate suspension of Earth's Senate status. Effective now." A murmur of hesitation passed through the delegation. The evidence was damning. The fear was real. Layla stepped forward. She didn't shout. She didn't posture. She simply said, "I have a presentation." Several representatives blinked. Drexel scoffed. "You think you can PowerPoint your way out of?" "I'm not speaking to you," she said, without looking at him. The room stilled. A projection bloomed behind her, star charts, data lines, patterns shifting in motion. 3 weeks ago, Earth's satellites picked up a subtle energy drift near Elixir. Not our jurisdiction, but we flagged it. 2 days later, long-range scans detected a cloaked vessel in the debris field surrounding the colony. Not ours either. She tapped her pad. 12 hours before the attack, that same energy signature bounced through 6 relay buoys. The ship used Terran encryption. But it wasn't ours. The image expanded, encryption overlays, decay rates, ghost code. "What you're seeing is a mimic protocol," Layla said. Used by exactly one species during the Seldari proxy conflict. A signature later buried under layers of bureaucratic silence. She turned slowly. And that species is Zarnath. Gasps erupted. Drexel didn't move. Layla's voice stayed level. While your counselors slept, I requested independent forensics from Threxian security. The real-time scans of the colony match false flag sabotage tactics once deployed by Drexel's intelligence division. Patterns the Senate quietly forgot. Drexel's jaw twitched. I demand. You'll wait, said the Threxian ambassador, rising. We have confirmed her analysis. Layla kept going. This wasn't a Terran strike. It was bait. Designed to trigger fear, fracture trust, and justify expulsion. She paused. And if it worked, if we had panicked, you'd have your war. Now she looked directly at Drexel. But we don't panic. We bake cookies. That pulled laughter. Not amused. Uneasy. Layla stepped forward again. I don't come here asking for sympathy. I bring clarity. We know what war is. We spent centuries teaching ourselves not to want it. She turned to the room. And I want to be very clear, for the record. We knew this was a trap before the vote was called. We knew Drexel would forge the evidence. We just let it happen. A second silence. This one deeper. Layla raised a hand. The chamber lights dimmed. New data filled the air, comms intercepts, altered time signatures, drone footage. Unclassified. Undeniable. Because we needed you to see what fear looks like in a suit, she said. And to show you what we do with fear. She reached into her coat. Pulled out a thin crystal drive. This contains Earth's complete military blueprint. Deployment grids. Weapons specs. Ship AI heuristics. Everything. Gasps. Protests. A few species visibly recoiled. Layla placed it on the shared podium like a peace offering. We're not afraid of being seen. Because we don't intend to be the threat in this room. A moment passed. Then two. A counselor from the Avaxi finally spoke. And what if someone uses that data against you? We'll adapt, Layla said simply. We always do. But we will never again build walls before doors. She turned back toward Drexel. Earth was willing to give the galaxy our best. You tried to bring out our worst. And failed. Drexel spoke now, voice low, dangerous. You think mercy wins wars? No, she said. But it ends them. He lunged, not physically, but diplomatically. A final motion, a desperate call to censure Earth, expel their envoys, freeze their trade. It failed. By a landslide. When the vote ended, Drexel was stripped of his title. Investigation pending. Detained by his own security detail. Layla didn't look at him again. As the session closed, envoys gathered around her, not fawning, but respectful. Requests flowed in, joint missions, cultural exchanges, technology cooperation. She accepted them all with a handshake and a warm, terrifying smile. Hours later, alone in her quarters, Layla received a secure transmission. It was from Earth. A young child's voice spoke, recorded from a school on Mars. Thank you for keeping us safe, Ms. Ambassador. My mom says you made the scary man go away without hurting anybody. Layla sat still for a long time. Then whispered, not yet.